The FA Cup, or to give it its full name, the Football Association Challenge Cup, has a rich history dating back to 1872. Back then, football was a gentleman's game played by aristocrats with no hint of professionalism or the working class. In fact, the first professional club that won the competition was in 1883, and that team was Blackburn Olympic. But instead of talking about the amateur era of the game and the professionalisation of the competition, we wanted to tell you about the only Scottish team to have reached not one, but two FA Cup finals. We're off to Glasgow, but not to Celtic or Rangers, although Rangers have competed in the FA Cup. No, the team we're focused on is Queen's Park. Queen's Park are Scotland's oldest association football club, and for the large part of their history have been an amateur side, having only turned professional in 2019. But when did Queen's Park play in the FA Cup? Well, we must go back all the way to 1884 because Queen's Park reached the 1883-84 FA Cup final, where their opponents would be Blackburn Rovers. Queen's Park's journey to the final included a 10-0 win away to Crewe Alexandra in the first round. They beat Manchester Football Club 15-0 in the second round. This was a game of firsts because this is the first competitive match between a Scottish and English club side to take place in Scotland. And if you're thinking Manchester United have always been terrible, no, this isn't Manchester United, but rather Manchester Football Club, which still exists today but plays rugby union. Queen's Park would go on to beat Oswestry Town, Aston Villa and Blackburn Olympic before the FA Cup final that year at the Kennington Oval. Yes, the home of Surrey County Cricket Club hosted the final of the FA Cup. The 1884 final represented a bit of a British championship because Queen's Park were already the Scottish Cup champions of that year after their opponent Vale of Levine refused to participate in the final. Attendance was between 10 to 12,000 and saw Blackburn Rovers win by 2-1. The final went head-to-head with a Scottish international game against Wales in Glasgow, with many Queen's Park players opting to play in the FA Cup final over representing their country. Queen's Park had lost their first FA Cup final, but they would have another chance the following year in the 1885 FA Cup final, once again at the Kennington Oval, and their opponents were the defending champions Blackburn Rovers. This represented the only final where two clubs met consecutively until the Manchester Derby FA Cup finals of 2023 and 2024. This run saw Queen's Park get past Stoke City, Crewe Alexandra, Leek Old Wycomists, and two replays against both Nottingham clubs, Forest and County, beating them both in replays in Scotland. The final, April 4th, 1885. Would it be revenge for Queen's Park following the previous year's defeat? No, they lost 2-0, allowing Blackburn Rovers to retain their FA Cup crown. Whilst this was the last time a Scottish club reached the FA Cup final, Queen's Park were not the last Scottish club to compete in the FA Cup. In fact, in the 1885-86 season, Queen's Park were joined by 3rd Lanark, Partick Thistle, Heart of Midlothian and Rangers, although the latter two withdrew without playing a single game. In 1886-87's FA Cup edition, the 1885 Scottish Cup winners defeated Blackburn Rovers in the third round, and that was Renton Football Club. That season, Rangers reached the semi-final of the FA Cup for the first and only time. That was the last time a team based in Scotland played in the FA Cup, until a border club elected to play in the Carlisle and District League and eventually the Northern Premier League. That club was Gretna, who qualified for the first round proper in 1991 and 1992, and again in the 93-94 season before joining the Scottish Football League in 2002.